What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Now, welcome back to my public YouTube channel. What exactly am I going to be speaking about in today's video? I'm going to be speaking about something that's so subtle and that most likely you're not even aware of, but it's actually happening to you on a daily basis. I'm going to be speaking about why you keep self-sabotaging, why you actually keep destroying yourself and you don't even know it. This is something that so many people deal with on a very unconscious level and they have no idea why. I want you to just take a second to ask yourself, are you happy? Are you living a life that feels satisfying? Are you following what feels right for you, what feels good? Or are you in a position in life where you're suffering, you're going through pain, you feel stuck, you feel stagnant, you feel trapped, and you don't even know why. And you're searching for answers when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to psychology, when it comes to self-development. And yet you're still like, what is happening here? Why am I destroying myself? Why am I self-sabotaging? If this is something that you feel like you're doing to yourself and you don't know why, then this is definitely a video that you want to stay tuned for because this is very important. So I highly encourage you. I'll see you on the other side. All right, let me first start with introducing myself just in case you don't know who I am. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I'm fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. I'm studied when it comes to planetary energies in association with astrology. And I'm also aware of trauma, the significance of trauma and how impactful it can be on somebody's life. All right, so if you're new to my channel, this is who I am. This is who you're getting this information from. So let's go into it. So we're talking about the essence of self-sabotage, the essence of why are you hurting yourself? Why do you keep destroying your own being? What is happening here? Why is it that you might find yourself in a current position where you're going through these similar cycles of pain, suffering, intense anger, and you've been here before, you've felt this before, you recognize the experience, you're like, this is not new, I've been here before, I've seen this before, this is something I'm familiar with. And then you get to that point where you're like, why is this happening? What is taking place here? Why am I choosing to keep myself in this cycle that keeps me suffering? And the first thing that I want to do with this video is, one, create that little bit of a context so that you can be aware of what may be happening in your life, but then two, let you know this is extremely common. Most people are stuck and trapped in these little cycles where they're destroying their own being. They're destroying their self over and over and over again. And most of these people are unaware that this is what's happening. And then they start playing the victim role where it's like, oh, I'm doing this because they do this to me and all these other things. Or they give up. They're like, I don't even want to do this anymore. I just surrender to this suffering. I surrender to this cycle. I'm just going to allow myself to keep falling into it unconsciously. And then you do get to a point where there's a certain level of like pain. And there's a certain level of aggression, a form of healthy aggression that then allows you to say, you know what? I'm choosing this and I don't want to choose this anymore. So I am about to start the process of breaking free of this cycle. I'm about to choose something that makes me feel good. I'm about to move in the right direction for the first time. And that takes a lot of strength, takes a lot of courage and a lot of willpower to do that. And eventually, the human soul, through enough pain and suffering, will get to that point. May not be in this lifetime, though. It may be in other lifetimes to come. Okay, but some of us are coming to this realization in this lifetime. So with that being said, though, why are we doing this? What is happening here? What is keeping us locked in this cycle where we keep hurting ourselves over and over and over again? And what it does all come back to is it comes to unhealed past trauma. From this unhealed past trauma, there is a repressed emotion that is causing us to act out unconsciously. That is based on whatever that repressed emotion is. Usually it's fear, sadness, or anger. And what we do is we often are looking for help. We're sending out a cry for help, and it could even be looked at as almost like an ask for love from the world around us. And we hurt ourselves, or we get ourselves in these cycles and in these patterns that keep hurting us, that literally cause pain and suffering, whether it's physical, emotional, psychological, mental, or all of them. And we keep falling into the cycle because we're actually asking to be loved. We're asking for help from the outside world because we don't feel like we're loved, and we want attention. We want to be loved by something or someone that can generally say, hey, look, you're hurting yourself. Stop doing that. I love you. It's going to be okay. You'll get through this. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. You don't have to keep hurting yourself. This is what we're looking for. So when someone is depressed, what they're really doing is they're communicating that they don't feel loved, and they're asking for love by being depressed. That's their call for help. It's a cry for acknowledgement and for someone to come in and say, look, you're going to get through this. You have to love yourself, and you have to trust yourself. You have to listen to your feelings. You have to listen to your intuition to get through this. But I know you can do it. So this is what we do. We get ourselves into these cycles and into these patterns because we're literally just seeking for love, and we're seeking to be heard from the outside world. We want that attention because we feel like we're neglected. Now, the problem is that as we're seeking for this love externally, what that already means is that we're lacking it internally. So we're lacking the love for ourselves. And the reason why we're lacking this self-love is solely because of this past trauma. Because we went through a traumatic experience, we repressed the emotion of the experience, we had to create an identity to cope as a coping mechanism to get through the experience, and then we get mad at ourselves for creating that separate identity and leaving our true self, and then we start to develop a sense of an inability to love ourselves as we have this identity that we've created to cope from that trauma. So as we go on with this separation of not loving ourselves, we get farther and farther and farther away from the true self. We become more fragmented, and we start to not only just not love ourselves, but we start to not trust ourselves at the same time. So we start involving ourselves with addictions, habits, patterns, and cycles that are literally designed to put us in pain and suffering, because unconsciously we're asking to be loved by someone else. Mainly, truly what we're asking for love from is most often our own parents. We're asking to be loved by the people who raised us, the mother and the father figure. And we're hurting ourselves, asking for this love, hoping that it comes to us, and hoping that someone comes in and saves us, when in reality, we need to just recognize the love that we're looking for is within. And the reason why we've had such a hard time recognizing that or being with that is because of that past trauma and the repressed emotion that was produced from that trauma. So if that repressed emotion is fear, hatred, which is anger, or sadness, then until we allow ourselves to feel that fear and feel that anger or feel that sadness, we are not going to be able to process the awareness of having love for ourselves. We're not going to be able to actually and truly love ourselves. We're going to be seeking for it externally because we are afraid, or we're angry, or we're sad. So this is literally why we get stuck in these cycles where we keep destroying ourselves, which, as I mentioned, most people are stuck in, and they go on with this form of living for so many years. For so many years. How long can you live hurting yourself? How long can you live your life going against your true feelings and your true intuition, but rather choosing the path of pain and suffering? So it's like, if I create an example, it's like I have two foods here. One of them is like a beautiful cheesecake. It's like soft. It looks delicious. It's creamy. It's just like, it's the perfect texture. It's the perfect temperature. It just looks appealing. Oh my gosh, it's like making my mouth water as I'm thinking about it. And then over here, we have, let's say, like a pine cone. A pine cone that's sharp. It's got like really sharp edges, right? If I was to hold this in front of you and say, do you want to eat a piece of this cheesecake, or would you like to eat a piece of this sharp pine cone? The choice is yours. Which one do you want to do? So to be aware of these choices and then make a decision to say, you know what? I want the choice that feels best, which in this case is the cheesecake. But the reality of this situation is that people are so traumatized and they have so much of this intense repressed emotion of fear, sadness, and anger that they're actually choosing to eat the solid pine cone over the soft, luscious cheesecake. So it's like making this conscious decision that I'm choosing what feels worse to my body. I'm going to choose this food that's literally going to hurt me rather than this food that's probably just going to taste absolutely delicious and go right through my digestive system. This is what we're doing over and over and over again when we are not allowing ourselves to be with these present moment emotions that we have repressed in our nervous system, locked away in the unconscious. And because of that, because of our inability to know how to be in the present moment and know how to feel those emotions, we're choosing patterns of suffering and pain over and over and over again, and we hurt ourselves in that process. So the question is, do you want to live like that for the rest of your life? Do you want to always choose to eat that sharp pine cone and go through all that digestive upset every time you make that decision? Guess what? I already know the answer to the question. You don't. Why would you? Who would want to do that? Nobody would. Okay? Anyone in their right mind would say, no, I want to feel good. I want to live in a way that feels authentic and truly light and effortless. And when I say light, I don't mean on the color spectrum. I mean just light, like not heavy, light. So what it comes down to really is being in touch with the nervous system, being in touch with the emotions that we've repressed in that nervous system, so that we can start allowing the processing to unfold, so we can start trusting our emotions. What does that look like? That literally looks like when I'm looking at this sharp pine cone that I'm about to eat, there is an emotion before I eat it that says, you're not going to feel good. This already does not feel good when we're looking at it, thinking about eating it. So there is an emotion there that says, do not eat this pine cone. This will hurt you. And we can feel that and we can say, wow, this doesn't feel good. I guess I'm not going to take a bite out of this. Let me go look at the cheesecake. Wow, this feels a lot better. This feels good. I feel good about this. Okay? The emotions in this example are giving us an indication of what is right for us and what is wrong for us, simply based on the true self and the more authentic path. Ultimately, in our life experience, we make choices where we go into patterns of self-harm and they become lessons. So ultimately, no path that is chosen is really the wrong path. But as you gain more maturity, more experience, and wisdom, you start to understand, I don't have to choose the path of pain and suffering any longer. I can choose a path that feels right for me. And as I said, when we allow ourselves to be in tune with the emotions in the present moment, we're aligning with the trust of ourself and our emotional body to say, does this feel right for me? So I want you as the listener right now to actually take a second to realize different areas of your own life. I want you to really take a nice visualization of this, and I want you to think to certain areas of your life that literally don't feel good. Like, what areas within your own life experience keep happening, keep cycling, keep reoccurring that do not feel good? And then ask yourself, why am I continuing manifesting this cycle? Why do I keep reliving that same experience over and over again? Why do I keep going to this job that I work at, I spend 8 hours a day at, that makes me feel completely terrible? Why do I wake up every morning and tell myself this is my forever job, or this is something that I have to keep showing up to? What part of me doesn't believe that I can have a different life experience and do something that feels better? What part of me is not working towards that or creating action steps to create something new? Why am I surrendering to the path of pain and suffering without a path, or without forging a path to get out of that, to find a path that feels right and feels light and feels good? Okay, so imagine, I know as you did this little visualization, there are probably many areas of your own life that are like, wow, like, I don't even like the relationships that I'm in. I don't even feel good in these relationships. I feel like I need to be in them. I feel like I play a role in them. I feel like they're important in some way, but I truly, like, on an emotional level, I don't feel good in these relationships. So what's happening there? Why are we still in the relationship? What's going on? The mind, the masculine, is out of touch with the emotions, the feminine. So the emotions are the foundation of our true self. They're the foundation of us walking the present moment path of purpose. And if our emotions are communicating to us, we don't feel good in these relationships, but the mind says, well, this is why I'm in it, and this is why we're together, and this is what we're doing, or this is my role, this is what I play in this group, then the mind is holding you in a situation that you actually do not feel good in. And if this is showing up in your life in any way, it's probably showing up in other ways as well. So if this is happening in relationships, it's probably also happening with your workforce. It's probably also happening with certain addictions you might have. Substance abuse, video games, food addictions, all kinds of different addictions are out there. Okay? So once again, we really want to acknowledge what's happening here, and we're wanting to become aware that we don't need to keep seeking this love that we're looking for in the outside world. We don't need to keep hurting ourselves to get that approval from our parents or to get that love from our parents. We don't need to keep seeking for this approval from our friends, from our bosses, from our managers, from our families even. Because it's really inside of us, and it always was inside of us. But the part that separated that awareness was the past trauma we went through that was so intense that we had to repress the emotions of that trauma and then cope from that repressed emotion to survive it by creating an artificial identity or an artificial self, by fragmenting our consciousness. And then through that fragmentation, we're starting to slowly identify with the artificial version of ourself, separating the love we have for ourselves, or making us forget that we actually do love ourselves. And then the longer we do that, the more we don't trust ourselves anymore. So we're starting to not even listen to our emotions anymore, which further fragments us and further gets us in experiences where the mind holds us in the experience, yet the emotions are clearly telling us, this is not healthy. This is not good for you. This is not your true self. but we don't trust ourselves anymore because we don't love ourselves anymore. So we stay in these experiences that are hurting us. We keep going back to the toxic relationships. We keep going back to the substance abuse. We keep running back to states of surrender to depression because we're still seeking the love externally. And we're seeking the love from the outside world, most often from the archetype of the mother and the father, which we're not getting. And we're never going to get until we realize, wow, I can love myself. And once again, this sounds great, but how do you love yourself? By recognizing as I get to the present moment with who I am, and I allow myself to feel the true emotions that are there, fear, sadness, anger, then I can start being human again. I can start recollecting those fragmented parts of my own being, of my own soul, of my consciousness, and I can feel and integrate through that feeling and start to align with my emotions again, and then develop that trust that I once lost within myself. I can trust myself again. I can trust what my emotions are communicating to me. I can love myself even more because now I'm trusting my emotions, and as I'm listening to what they're telling me, it's guiding me into a path where I no longer am having to suffer. I'm not feeling that pain anymore. I'm feeling good, and I'm allowing myself to mentally engage with situations that actually make me feel good. And the more that I do this, the more trust I get within myself, the more love I have for myself, and this becomes a snowball effect. It also builds its own momentum the same way that it does in the opposite end of that spectrum where we fragment. So the momentum can go both ways. And all of us have been in these cycles. All of us have been stuck to an extent with this type of state of being. It's just a part of the human experience. It's a part of growth and evolution, and it's not fun. It's definitely not comfortable. It's not something we want or we like, but we learn these lessons from being stuck in these cycles. That's the reason literally why I'm here right now, and I'm able to break it down so intricately and so significantly and even intelligently. Because guess what? I've dealt with this cycle so much. I have put myself in so much self-sabotage throughout my life because I was seeking love from my parents. I was seeking love from the outside world, and I felt like I had to literally hurt myself to then hopefully have someone love me and tell me I don't need to keep hurting myself. And I never got to that point. No one ever told me that. I had to realize within myself, I had to invest in myself, and I had to learn to trust and love myself first, to then I get to the point where I can connect with others who then give that reflection back to me or give that perspective to me that can sit there and say, Jeremiah, you've hurt yourself for so many years, and I'm sorry that you went through that. I'm sorry that you didn't feel loved, and I just want to let you know that I love you right now. You know, you are loved in this moment. And the only reason why you're able to get this love from me is because you started loving yourself. You started trusting yourself. And it was a rocky road. It was a process that had many ups and downs, but ultimately you started. And now you've unlocked some of these doors to receive that love from the outside world, what you were looking for the whole time. So as we create those cycles of self-harm, seeking for that attention and that love, these are self-fulfilling prophecies. These are cycles that do not end. There is no savior in that cycle. This also comes into the archetype of the savior and the Jesus Christ archetype that is promoted by mainstream religion, Christianity. They tell you there's a savior. They tell you, oh, one day you'll wake up and someone's going to give you all the answers to your problems. But if you can't culminate that starting process of trying to love yourself or seek that, you're not going to create an external person, or you're not going to manifest a situation where something externally wakes you up and says, hey, look, you're loved and I love you and you can do this. You can listen to yourself. You can trust yourself and you can make it through whatever you're going through. We're never going to manifest that type of person until we start that process of self-love. And truly, the reason why you're here right now listening to this video, if you're here, is because you've initiated this process. So you're already starting this process, which is a very valuable thing. You may still very well be in these cycles of self-sabotage and harming yourself unconsciously, but the fact that you've loved yourself enough to say, look, I'm investing in my spiritual self-development, I'm investing in my emotional health, my physical health, and my mental health, that is self-love. That is trusting yourself to be listening to this type of content right now, where you're hearing this information coming from me, where I'm giving you value so that you can better recognize loving yourself is how you create that experience where you get love from the world around you. You get that connection from the figure of the mother and the father that maybe you didn't have in your life. You know, it doesn't have to just come from your parents. The universal father energy or the universal mother energy comes through nature itself, and it can show you signs that you're loved. And it can easily show up in other people too. You could meet someone that reminds you of your father. They're not your father, but they could remind you of your father. You could meet someone that reminds you of your mother, and they can show massive amounts of love to you and make you feel recognized and make you feel worthy of trusting yourself and listening to yourself. And that can be such a satisfying thing to feel if you never had that growing up, if your actual parents never gave that to you. But you won't manifest that until you start realizing, I need to learn how to love myself first. I need to at least start the process of trusting myself first. It's not going to come externally and then allow me to love and trust myself. I have to do that first. And it is a rocky road. It's not clean. It's not clear. It's not from point A to point B. It is like all over the map. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to take some turns. It's going to be diagonal, horizontal. It's going to shift and change. But that's the nature of this journey, and that's why it's an adventure, and it's a beautiful thing at the end of the day. So with this video, it was my strong intention to make you aware of those areas of yourself that are leading you into self-sabotage, leading you into hurting yourself over and over again, so that you can actually be aware of why you're doing that to yourself. Now you have some of the roots, some of the understandings. And truly, one of the best ways to break the cycle, not one, the best way to break these cycles is it has nothing to do with the logical awareness. It has nothing to do with like, oh, this is my trauma, this is what I went through, this is why. That's the logical piece. And trust me, I've dealt with a lot of people that understand the logistics of their trauma. They get what it's connected to. They get what happened. They get even what repressed emotions they have. But the real process of healing and integrating so that you don't keep hurting yourself over and over again is not about the logistics. It's about the processing. It's about the nervous system, and it's about feeling those repressed emotions in the present moment. And the way that we do that is by creating specific practices that allow those emotions to come up. But we do have to set the stage. We have to set the stage for a foundation before really getting into this work, because this work can be very intense and there can be a lot to process. So we need to make sure we have that proper foundation underneath of that so that we're prepared to do the processing, so that we're not further harming ourselves or further traumatizing ourselves and then hurting ourselves even more. All right. And if you want to go deeper with developing that underlying foundation and learning how to feel some of these emotions, not just logistically understand them, but actually how to feel them, then I would highly recommend booking either a one-on-one call with me or definitely a mentorship. I have a 6-week and a 3-month mentorship. These services are in the second link below. Okay, these can be extremely powerful services if you're really looking to do this type of work. If you're resonating with what I'm talking about now, take this as a sign from the universe you're being called to do this work. And here I am as that, in a way, a vessel, offering this opportunity. All right, so with that being said, this is where I'm going to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. Okay, come down here and hit the thumbs up button if you enjoy this type of content. If this is the type of content that you feel is actually causing a drastic shift in your inner being, that's why I'm making it. Hit the thumbs up button, let me know. Now also drop down in the comment sections and let me know how this has influenced you. Literally let me know how this content has affected your spiritual self-development or just self-development in general. Let me know if you're resonating with what I'm saying. Go ahead and share some of your own cycles and some of your own patterns that you find yourself getting trapped into. Okay, drop down in the comment sections. You would be surprised how many people you might resonate with by opening up. All right. Now also go down and hit the notification bell. You want to get notified when I post. Trust me, when I'm posting content like this that can actually shift your entire life trajectory, you don't want to be missing out. All right, now come down here and hit the subscribe button, because by subscribing to my channel, you're further linking into it, which means there's a real deeper energetic component taking place there. So go ahead and subscribe. Now, with that being said, I also want to take your awareness to a private Facebook community. You go down into the YouTube description, scroll down, you're going to see a link that says private Facebook community. You can request to join. At this point, there's almost 1,000 people in this community, bunch of like-minded individuals. Lots of real-life relationships have been formed within this group. And I mean, not intimate relationships necessarily, but I mean more so deep soul connections, like people that just really resonate with each other and can connect on that deeper level. So if you want to get involved with this private Facebook community and be around a bunch of like-minded individuals and potentially form some pretty strong bonds and connections with other human beings, definitely consider it. You can put in your request to join, and one of my moderators will add you in. Okay? Now, I'm going to take your awareness to the most important link within the entirety of the YouTube description itself. It's the first link at the very top. That takes you to my Patreon. Now, on my Patreon, I have an entire vault of content that is more advanced and more personal than what you're getting on my public channel. And at this point, it's almost like even a secondary YouTube channel. So if you're really getting value from my public channel, then if you're really loving yourself enough and you're investing in your self-development enough, I would highly recommend checking out the Patreon as well for that exclusive content. Okay, it can be very, very powerful. Tier number 2 gives you access to an entire magic training course, which would be valuable if you're a beginner occultist and you're looking for a structured format to follow to develop your psychic capabilities. Tier number 3 is what's called the Universe.B Vampire Service. This is the most popular tier on the Patreon itself, and that speaks for itself right there. This is a service that's performed on the 29th of every single month, and it's designed to completely shift your energetic structure to be more so Universe.B dominant. So that's counterclockwise in its nature, the spin to your energy fields. And what this does is this allows you to be much more receptive to the world around you, much more receptive to the unconscious and subconscious mind. It really is a very deep feminine energy. And it also gives you an ability to start taking darker symbolism, so symbols that are embedded with dark energy and chaos, and to be able to really transmute those into awareness, power, potential. So you're no longer viewing things from the light of good and evil, but you're starting to see the gold that exists within what we call in our modern times evil, because it's just another type of energy, just simply the difference between positive and negative. And there is a lot of potential within that negative charge. And yes, this vampire service is designed to attune you to the negative charge of our universe so that you can start turning it into positives for yourself. Okay, it's one of the most powerful things that I actually offer to the public, and I don't know many other people that are doing this type of service, especially for the price that I do. It is a subscription plan, so it's up to you on how long you're subscribed for, and the longer you're subscribed, the more the service is performed on you. But the entry fee is extremely reasonable. It's $50 a month. Okay, so it can cause significant changes in people's lives. I have tons of testimonies of people's lives making drastic shifts after having received the vampire service. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. It's the 3rd tier of the Patreon. Then as you move into tier number 4, this is the top tier. This gives you access to everything from the previous tiers, but you also get some bonus content. You get access to a psychic prediction on a monthly basis. So for the beginning of the new month, I give you a psychic prediction on the energies you can expect for that month using my tarot card and my oracle deck. And then you have access to message me through WhatsApp whenever you want, 24/7, and I will respond to you when I have the free time through voice message. So I will literally be responding to your messages whenever you have questions, okay? And whenever I have time to respond. So if that's interesting to you, check it out. This is all within the Patreon. That is the first link at the very top. We'll leave it there. Then, as I mentioned towards the end of this video, at the second link below, you can book a one-on-one call with me, or I have mentorship options. So if you're really looking to work with me in person, or through the phone, I should say, we can do this together, and I can help guide you through the process of getting in tune with your emotions and getting back into that present moment and learning what you need to do in order to properly process what's going on in the present moment in your nervous system. This is literally the most important work to do. So if you're someone who's looking to develop on that level, or if you just want to do a mentorship with me or a call with me, and I mean, they really can go anywhere that they need to go. So if you have a bunch of questions you want to ask and you want to hear my perspective, we can go there too. Okay, the mentorship is designed to be your mentorship. It goes where it needs to go. If you want to do that work, all of that's in that second link below. Okay? Now, also within that same second link below, you have an option to book a card reading with me, a tarot card reading. That is a reading that you've never received before. This is an extremely unique reading. The reason why is because I'm a very unique individual, and I have a lot of experience with the Kabbalistic tree. I have a lot of experience with the occult in general. And the way that I break down the reading is very different than what you're traditionally going to get in other readings. It's coming from a very authentic space, and I can even connect things energetically to the tree of life and tell you what some of the energies are that you're pulling on from that Kabbalah tree of life, okay? And I do it for the present moment, near future, and long-term future, and I can give you an overview of where you are now and where you're headed. I've been doing this for over 3 years for other people. I get tons of valuable feedback. I do a reading almost every single day. If this is something that you're interested in, once again, definitely consider it. That would also be within that second link below. All right, we'll leave that there. Now, as we move into the third link below, this is where you can become a YouTube member. And as you become a YouTube member, you're getting access to a multitude of different benefits, shout outs during live streams, an ability to leave a super chat for free every month. But most importantly, you get access to the Psychic Warfare Emoji Program. And this is a sequence of emojis that I've designed myself that are based on real occult principles. And you can use them in a certain configuration. You link in the name of a target, hit enter, and it actually causes psychic effects to the target of your choice. Okay? Now, this is also an amazing way to express healthy aggression. Healthy aggression is expressing anger without actually physically having to harm someone and get yourself in trouble for doing that. So this can be a very healthy form of expressing that aggression, on top of it being a form of psychic warfare. All right? There are well over 2,000 posts where members have already used this themselves. There are members in this moment that are taking advantage of it. This is something that you want to take advantage of as well. You can definitely do so. Third link below, you click it, join, become a YouTube member, and then you will have access. Okay, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm going to come to the wrap up. I appreciate all of you very, very, very much, and I hope you all truly have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.